Down the Rabbit Hole, a story of adaptation and opportunity. I've asked everyone to tell their stories, and yet when my agent asked that I first tell mine as an example, I discovered how very difficult it is to summarize a life, as no single experience stands independent of another that preceded it, and each in turn affects the choices available for the next. Much like when Alice finds a small key to a door too small for her to fit through, but through it she sees an attractive garden and then discovers a bottle on a table labeled "Drink Me," the contents of which caused her to shrink too small to reach the key which she has left on the table. The story of one's life does not have a beginning and an end, but rather is a series of starts and an evolution of ideas, a journey of highs and lows and lessons to be learned. So, a little of my backstory. I chose to leave home at 16. And as I was in a hurry to start my life, I worked nights and began taking university courses in combination with my final year of high school, with the help of a student loan and permission from the dean. As is often the case, we sometimes find that what we thought we wanted is not what we actually needed. And I soon discovered that although my study of psychology was fascinating, the prospect of it as a professional practice would not suit me, and so I made a drastic switch and took certified general accounting, the logic and structure of which appealed to me, but the dryness and sheer boredom did not. Still, both areas became a resource of knowledge that would find their way into my art and my business. I met my husband for the first time 28 years ago at an airport, and I was carrying under my arm an oil painting that my great-uncle had painted, that my grandmother had just given to me to help cheer up my cheap basement flat. And I would come to realize years later that both the painting and the airport would be foreshadowing of the adventures to come. The only seat on the airplane not taken was the seat next to mine. And Frank and I have been together ever since. We married, moved back to my hometown of Toronto, started a few businesses all simultaneously, worked many jobs at the same time, and had our son, and so life began. With virtually no money, but some business sense and creative instinct and the need for survival, we began making and selling handcrafted children's toys from scrap wood that was being thrown out. Inspired by this, Frank went on to begin making beautiful furniture, and we then began to expand our skills, but not without challenges. The first recession found us with a woman desperate enough to actually impersonate me, going so far as to use my name and to pretend to be the owner of our business in order to steal our clients. It took us a while to realize, and once she was caught, the damage was done, and we were ready for a change. It had been a devastating blow to our business, and yet we were blissfully naive and still ignorant enough to see only the positive possibilities that arose from each trial. We began again, in a new city, closer to Frank's parents, who were now considerably older, and where we had already begun to establish strong working relationships with agents and designers for decorative paint finishes, art, and handcrafted cast stone fireplaces. And as always when doing new and creative work, we were once again happy. Our son was growing up, and all the family that I had lost so many years ago was now back in touch, and relationships had actually strengthened. My mother, who had first brought me to Florence when I was just 15, decided that we should return. It changed my life. 2 weeks alone with my mother after all those years, in a city where I still remembered struggling with my travel allowance at the age of 15 to decide between a leather briefcase or the Conte art pencils, always business or art, brought back all the motivation I needed to find a way to return. Our son beat us to it, though, when he moved here for school at 18 for 1 year. But we were soon to follow. He returned to Canada, and we moved to Florence in 2010. We jumped off the cliff, as we like to say. A very successful business had run its course. Our designers and agents were retiring or had experienced serious illness. The recession was looming. Our son was grown, and the time seemed right to begin again. My mother died unexpectedly that first year here, and it was devastating. I couldn't believe how painful this could be. And yet I reminded myself that she had known of our move, had seen the results of our art, and had known the part that she had played in my choice. My family have now all visited me here, and everyone agrees that this is where we belong. Life really is a journey, and the irony is that the stories you will likely value most later in life may well actually be the ones that you believe will be the end of you at the moment that they happen. And so this is where my new story begins. Florence. Florence inspires. Florence allows one to live life and to witness life. The piazzas, or the squares, are a showcase of life at its very most diverse. The children don't walk, they dance through the open space. The old people hold hands, the young girls flirt. The artists sketch, the writers write. The dogs visit friends, the musicians play. The tourists take photos, and the poor ask for help. All nationalities, all ages, all languages, all together. The permanence of art is evident at every moment of every day. It is not reserved for museums and galleries, but rather is in the streets, the parks, the architecture, the walls, and the churches. Florence proves the powerful ability of art to transcend generations, because the human condition does not change, and because beauty is always welcome in every life. It is these basic truths that Frank and I now wish our art to represent. And so we invite you all to tell your stories.